This is Irontrader and TGIF. Now, today is all going to be about the speech that Powell's going to give in Jackson Hole. That's going to be the market mover. Now, this week there was some good trading, but there was a lot of smaller trades. There wasn't really anything that just like, wow, I can get like 4, 5, 10 points out of this thing or kind of situation. So remember, let's just see what the Powell has to say, and let's see what the reaction is to what he has to say. That's going to be very, very key. Okay, we'll take a look here at Bitcoin, at gold, silver, crude oil, and natural gas. And then we'll take a look here at the old NQ, which is up about 49. Okay, this video is for information purposes only, not recommendation of buy or selling stock market ETF. Please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Here we have Bitcoin daily, weekly chart. Now, you can see here how we had this double top situation. Came right on down, and now we're just putting this series of higher lows, or lower highs and lower lows in, okay? Now, so far today, we have what they call as an inside day, high and lows inside the previous day. Now, you can see here where we're holding that bottom, that yesterday's low at 112.075 level. Today's low here so far is 112.375, but when we rallied up, where do we go? Right into that 50-day. Look at that. See, this is why you trade the charts. Okay, so let's take a look at the upside. So this is what we're watching, is that 113.768. Now, get above that, we're going to come to the top of this candle, 114.640. Yesterday's high, 115.30 level, right? Then we'll come right to the bottom of this candle. Okay, you're looking at that 116.295, but we're looking at this 8-day, okay? This is what we're really looking at, is this 116.233 level. This is going to be very, very key. Now, you can see how the 8-day rolled over, crossed over that 21-day. That's very, very bearish, okay? So just remember, if we do get a rally, this is going to become very, very strong resistance. Here is this 8-day at 116.232. Now, if we can get above that somehow, you got 116.916 level, and that is going to be your 21 SMA level. Then we come up to 117.315. We'll come up to there 118.350, and then we just venture right on up 119.810 level. But right now, that 8-day, I can't express how strong that's going to be in resistance, and that 21-day, okay? And also this 50-day, all right? Now, on the downside, we're watching yesterday's low. That's going to be very, very critical, okay? So you're watching that 112.075 low, right? Now, if we lose that, you're going to come right to the top of this candle, okay? You're looking at 111.220, the top, okay? 110.265, 109.685, and we'll come to the bottom of that candle at that 108.625, and then we'll come to the bottom there at 107.840 level, and then we have 107.680 level, and then we head right for that 100-day at that 105.475 level, right? Now you can see here how this basically is rolling over. Let me just see what I did here, okay? Oh, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Now, you can see here how we still have a nice good uptrending, but we lost that 50-day. That's going to be very, very key. So we need to get back above that 50-day. That's going to be very, very critical. But you can see how that 8-day now and that 21-day, very, very strong kind of a resistance. So let's just see how that's all going to work out. Now, when you look at the RSI, you're only sitting at 42. That's not nowhere near oversold or overbought kind of a situation. The green is below your red. That shows momentum. And we had this negative divergence, which is playing out very, very nicely. Okay, so always watch that. Put a couple flags together. When you have the negative divergence, we have a double top. That tells you you're going to be going lower, and that's exactly what we're doing. Now, weekly chart. Okay, so we got to this bought condition, and now we're doing a little rollover. The green is starting to curl over your red. That's not a good look. Okay, not at all. And so far, unless we get back above that 115.833, we're going to lose that 8-day here. And look how many weeks that we've held it. Okay, very, very nicely. Even this candle here, okay, we got all the way down, but you notice that it closed up for the week. So if we lose that 8-day, that's not good at all. And then what we'll be looking at is that 112.345 level. We have that 110.150 level, and then we have that 108.960, and then we can come all the way here to this 105.595 level, okay, which is just right above this old 100-day. So always look at the weekly chart, and it tells you a lot of information. Now, that being said, it looks like, oh, this is all going down. However, this is a very, very bullish chart. Bottom left, upper right situation. This price can come all the way to this 50-day, and we still have an uptrending chart. Okay, see this? Low, higher low, higher low. If it comes all the way up here, still higher low situation. Okay, so don't get too excited. Just look for buying opportunities. For me, I'm looking for just for trading opportunities. That's what I look for. So again, today, watch that 50-day on the upside. Very, very key. If you can rally, Then we go into that 8-day, and then we look at that 21-day. Okay, and downside, just watch yesterday's candle. Okay, that 112.075. That's going to be very, very key on a closing basis. All right, take a look here now at gold and silver. Here we have gold and silver, and you can see it's really pretty much a whole lot of nothing. We're just going sideways action, and we have so much resistance sitting right here. All right, so what we're looking for on the upside first is that 50-day, 33.75. Nothing's changed, okay? Then we look at the 8-day, 33.82, and then we look at the 21-day, 33.90. Everything is just sitting right there, okay? So that's why you trade the charts, when you have to break above all of that in order to do that. If you can get above that 21-day, then what you do is then we'll be looking for the top of that candle right there at that 34.03 level. Then we can just march it right on up. Okay, so you have right there, you got that 34.23 level, and then we come to the bottom, you're looking at that 34.45 level, right? Then we always want to watch that 34.15 level, and then we can come to the top at 34.66. But we have to get out of that sideways mess, pretty much. I mean, that's very, very strong in order to go higher. Now, on the downside, we're watching yesterday's low. That's at 33.67, and then watch the bottom of this candle, 33.53, and then we'll be watching the 100-day at 33.29, and then your retest at 3,300, which is basically just the bottom of that candle. Okay, so nothing has changed here. This is just like watching paint dry. Okay, nothing here. Now, we look over to the 47. That's not overbought or oversold. The green is below your red because it looks like we had this topping tail, and then we just came right on down. Again, we'll always watch these signals, okay? When you see that topping tail, you see this topping tail, and what happens? It comes right on down. What happens? It comes right on down. Okay, so always watch it. And then we had this double top. Even though we got higher than 35.09, you notice it couldn't close above 35.09. That's the key. You have to close above it. So right now, we just have a sideways action. But again, when you do have sideways action, it does build energy. Just look like what we have on silver. We had this sideways just chop, and then when did she win? She put in this bull flag situation that we had right here, and then she just rallied up very, very nicely. So be very, very, very careful. Plus, we got to figure the 100 days on the upswing, 200 days on the upswing. That's all very, very good and positive for gold, but you have to get through all that resistance. Now, silver, well, pretty much the same thing. It looks like silver's going to do a little bit of rally there, but no, not so much. Now, yesterday, you popped above, and we kind of closed above it, and it came down, well, we held that 50-day very, very nice. So what we're watching is the same thing, okay? We're watching this 8-day, okay, 37.98. We're watching that 21-day, 37.89, and then we'll be watching that 50-day at 37.57. Everything you know is sitting right there. Now, if we can get above, then we go to yesterday's high, 38.19. We'll venture up here at 38.34 level. We have 38.56, and then we come up there, 38.71, 38.78. But this is what we're looking for, is that 38.87, because if you just go right to the left of the chart here, how many times has that hit it and held it? That's going to be very, very strong resistance. Obviously, we get above, come to the bottom, 39.91. We come up there, 39.52, 39.66, and then your retest, 39.91. Crack that, 40, 42, 45. You just venture all the way on up. But right now, we have this sideways action, but we have a downtrending situation. High, lower, high, lower, high, lower, high situation. Okay, so there's really nothing here. It's just sideways action, pretty much like what we have with the gold. Now, you look at the RSI. That's not overbought or oversold. The green is below your red, but we just had that sideways situation going. So, you know, it's really a whole lot of nothing unless we can start getting some kind of a catalyst to take that higher. Okay, let's take a look here now at crude oil. Here we have the old crude ski. Now, remember the rig count will be out today at 1 o'clock. It's not a market mover, but, you know, information is information. All right. Now, you can see over here, we look to the left of the chart, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, inverse head and shoulders pattern. When we're down here, I said, as this plays out, you're going to go to the 200-day. That's what we want. This was that war premium situation. And now here what we have is we just kind of celebrated off, but you notice that we are above this 8-day. Now, Putin met with T-Man, and he also met with Putin met with Zelensky, and I thought they were going to kind of work this all situation out and get a ceasefire. And what did Putin do? The first thing he did, he went there and he bombed Ukraine a day after that, and it was an American plant that was in there. So I don't know how this is all going to shake out. Now, again, remember, any kind of a war situation, any kind of a disruption, anything on that order is going to bring this. Okay, this was your normal trade. up to there, okay, inverse head and shoulders. This was that war premium, which anything could ignite anytime. Now, you can see here we have this bottom at 61.45 level, all right? So now we have a nice, good upgrading candles. So I'm long out of that SCO, and I've been just scalping the UCO there for the long. And the beauty about it is both of those are tradable 24 hours. So it's very, very nice. Now, downside, this is what you're watching, 63.06. That's going to be very, very key. That's your 8-day. If not, we go to yesterday's low at that 62.52. We'll come down to the bottom of that candle, 61.83, and then we're looking for the retest at 61.45. Okay, very, very easy. Upside, same thing. Okay, you're looking for that 64.38, which is going to be very, very strong resistance. Look in the past. Okay, see how strong that is? And then look out on the past here on when you got above it, how strong and how well it held. Okay, so you have to respect the 100-day. All right, 64.38. We get above that, 21-day, 64.89, 50-day, 66.53, and right there, 67.53. There is going to be your 200-day. Okay, so these are all your upside targets. So if it rallies, you just take one level at a time, the 100-day, 21-day, 50-day, 200-day. The odds of that shooting all the way through that is you're going to need one hell of a catalyst to blast all the way through that. Now, if you get above that, well, then we can come to the bottom of that candle. You got 68.56. We come to the top there at 69.58, and then we have that 70.51, which is your big retest. All right, so we got to see how it all shakes out. But watch this 8-day. Okay, very, very key on a closing basis. Now, we never got to an over a sold condition. You're sitting at 45. That could go either way. And we have the green below your red, but it's going like a sideways action. So let's just see how this all shakes out. Be a little bit patient this time of the year because we have that hurricane season. The war, you can't, Zelensky and Putin and this, you can't really trust what these guys are going to be saying and what these guys are going to be doing. You either end that war or you don't, kind of a situation. That's how I would say. You got to get rid of that. You're just blowing up people and blowing up buildings for what reason? Okay, so that's got to be ended. But until that ends, okay, or until any kind of a hurricane comes in here, you can take crude much higher. Okay, at just simple any kind of disruption. Now, if you're just going supply and demand, the market is fully supplied. Okay, OPEC, they're flooding the market with crude. If Putin can get this thing settled out, he can add crude to the market. Okay, so I read a nice article with the EU, and they said, man, you're coming up with a glut kind of a situation in oil. Okay, so I think oil eventually is going to go down to the 50s. It's just not this time of the year. Okay, this is the time of year where you have that hurricane season until October 1st. It's the same way where, like with the stock market, it's really a bad time for the market, but it's usually a good time for the oil. All right, let's take a look at natural gas. Here we have the old natty gas. Now you can see here, well, we're just absolutely downtrending, and the 8-day is holding it right on up. Okay, so we had a nice, good uptrend situation. Low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher high situation, but then we have this topping tail. Always watch those. See this? Topping tail. That was a sticky of a topping tail. And then all the way on down. So look how we have this. Now, again, we had this situation here, and it said, oh, it's going to go all the way on down again. And then it reversed. Okay, it got above that 8-day, and then it just reversed. So I'd be very, very patient here. Now, again, this time of the year, natural gas is coming up. And they're predicting a very, very hard, cold, snowy winter again. If they do, okay, and that does play out, natural gas will go much higher. So what you're watching is 2.82. That's got 8-day. We get above that, you're going to be watching right there at that 2.95. Okay. Now we get above that, you're going to be coming right here to this price channel at 219, and then we have your 50-day at 326, and then we have 3.37. Okay. Very, very simple, but just watch that 8-day because you can see how it's pressing it all the way down. Here's a perfect example. That was from the past. This is here again from the past. Now, we have positive divergence. See, we have a low, and then we have a lower low, but we have a higher low here. Okay, so it's going to be a matter of time before this is going to rally up. But just watch that 8-day, very, very critical. Downside, what you're watching is that 2.72 level. That has to hold. Okay, this level right there, 272, has to hold. Okay, if it doesn't, then all you do is go right to the left. What do you got? You got 2.68 level. We'll come down to the bottom there. You got 2.64. We'll come to the top there. You got 2.57. Come to the bottom, 2.51. And just work yourself down, 2.44 level. And then we have 2.37. And we work yourself down to 2.26 and all the way down to 2.21. Okay, but let's just take a little overall look at it. You got a downtrending situation. Okay, but let's see if we can get that bad boy reversed. Okay, let's take a look here now at the old NQ. All right, here we have the old NQ. This is the NASDAQ futures. Okay, so you can see here how we had this really nice, good run all the way up here. Candles getting really small. And this here was a downturn when T-Man was going to put tariffs on, 35% tariffs on Canada. Then that kind of shook it right on off, and then we rallied up. And then we just fall right off. But look at this 50-day. Look how nice that's holding, see? That's why you trade the charts. Came right on down, held it. Head on down, and so far today, held it. Okay, so this is what you're watching on the downside, that 50-day. Next in line, we're going to be right there at that 22,775. That's your retest of the recent low. Okay, now if we lose it, we have a lot of support here, but realistically, you're going to come right down to that 21,592 and 21,351. That's the direction you're going to be heading to. Okay, now we had this negative divergence. Okay, high, higher high, high, lower high. Always watch this negative divergence. That's like a red flag situation, right? So that's what we're always going to be watching. Now, on the upside, we have this 8-day, which is kind of rolling over here now. But again, it rolled over there, but it never crossed. Once it crosses, like it is on Bitcoin, then that's usually the kiss of death. That means it's going to go lower, okay? So upside, you want 230507 and then 23,584. Now, if you get above it, yeah, we have resistance, but realistically, you're going to head right back for that 2468. You crack above that, and you can go 24,100, 24,200. You can go all the way up to 25,000. Okay, we don't know where that's all going to go up. But this time of the year, I just say I'm really a big fan of just saying buying and hold. This is just a trading situation. But right now, we still have an uptrending situation. As long as this 50-day holds, 23.50, 54, we start losing that, then you're going to come down to that price channel. You start losing that price channel, you're going to head right for the old Hondo here. Okay, now you look at the RSI. This is nowhere near overbought or oversold. The same way with here, this got a lot of room to roll. So again, if we do get this decline, this could come all the way down. So remember, watch that Powell get all his information, and not only his information, but okay, let's see what the reaction is. All right, I'll be here at midday trading, and we'll take a look at some stocks. And remember, trade what's in front of you, not what you want.